Marketing's like, managing a stock portfolio. You have to have diversification in what you're advertising, what you're marketing, what you're putting out in content. So, that hyper niche, this is my, I'm upper cervical focused or decompression or whatever, is a small percentage of your portfolio. But the main kind of like income revenue driver is this large scale messaging of, we can help you get better. And this is how you can be this healthy person.
Hello, and welcome to Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. This podcast is dedicated to chiropractors who are in the seasons of launching and building their practice. Join myself, Dr. Lona, and my co-host, Dr. Bobby, as we have conversations each week as it relates to building the practice of your dreams. And remember, you can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. We're here to lead you on the way. All right, welcome back to the Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. This is going to be a real treat today. We are going to have a marketing conversation with our very own Chief Marketing Officer for TRP. Some of you probably already know Lauren from her time on the stage at Immersions, as well as she teaches the marketing cohorts about how to get your brand out there and to spread this message of chiropractic further in your community. So welcome, Lauren. Thanks for spending some time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. All right. So offline, we were just chatting a bit and I was like, oh, we should press record. So we're going to just jump right in. Lauren, why don't we start with when you're working with the practices you work with right now? One of the things you brought up is that a lot of what you're working around is how you appear in the marketplace. So why don't we just dive in first with just what do you see as some of the common problems chiropractors have with their marketing and how they're appearing and what you try and do to help them see from a different perspective what they need to change?
Yeah, absolutely. I think most significantly what we're seeing is the lack of evolution or migration in a truly post-COVID world where the consumer behaviors and our, ideal new patient prospects, the way that they're behaving in the marketplace is just radically different. And a lot of the times we have marketing that worked for the past 5 years, or that's been a tried and true kind of like bread and butter way of producing new patients. And when the consumer shifts and the behavior shifts, it breaks. And we start to see diminishing returns and we have to pivot. So, most importantly, I think post-COVID, we're looking at a consumer that wants faster, ease of access, less friction to purchase. And they want it quickly, and they want a result quickly, and they want an aspirational result that they can work towards or that they can reference in terms of lifestyle versus just symptom management. Yeah. I think most profoundly, it's that migration away from just the symptom all the time, right? Which is what we've always marketed to what life effect does that symptom reduction or symptom alleviation actually yield?
Which I actually really love that because, in our philosophically driven chiropractic or our subluxation-based chiropractic, when we start talking symptoms right from the get-go, we can paint ourselves into a corner versus when we're talking about life expression and wanting that vitality piece back, that we're really after is the outcome. And then that continued outcome is what you're saying, right? That's really what you believe is part of where the marketing message needs to shift.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also, responding to what our consumers are telling us time and time again that they want. And they're showing us this when they're interacting with different healthcare modalities, where they're choosing to use their disposable income in other places other than chiropractic in mass. They're saying, the pain, and it kind of relates back to the reality of people will sit in a pain symptom for a really, really, really long time, if not forever, until that lifestyle impact is just too costly to them. Yep. And so we have to kind of like digest that and go, the pain symptom is just the catalyst or the mechanism that gets their attention initially, or that gets their eyeball to stop while they're doom scrolling through TikTok or, Facebook ads or whatever. But it's not the catalyst that makes them want to buy or to commit. The catalyst that makes them want to buy and want to commit and want to get to wellness and want to get back to a healthy, vital body is the change in their lifestyles, the change in their life impact, where they can, go play 18 holes of golf, run around with the dog, the kids, they can, go to work without getting chronic migraines, things like that. All things that chiropractic can achieve, but we usually just talk about symptom and pain reduction instead of, hey, it's great if you do this, but if you do this long term and you commit to this lifestyle wise, no different than people who are committed to CrossFit, Peloton, things like that. They make these transformations and they can see themselves in these outcomes, and that creates that insane emotional connection to the outcome where they want to invest their time, their effort, their money. And that paves the way for us to overcome those objections that we hit at reported findings with, well, I don't know if I can, spend the money, or let me talk to my husband and see if this is something that we want to do, or just don't know if I have the time to come in twice a week. It helps us overcome that preemptively instead of struggling through that at reported findings.
So you're almost saying like creating more of a like culture or a tribe within like identifying yourself as someone who feels good about themselves because they know they're taking action towards being in this next iteration of themselves as a healthier human or more vital.
Exactly, that transformation. And we can see this, we can see consumers in millions choosing to do this. You think about something like, GLP-1s kicking in the market where they're teasing this huge transformation of be your best self, be your skinniest self, be your less, inflamed self with a pharmacological, self-stabbing every week. And people sign up for that in a heartbeat because it seems like I can be this new person. It's not the mechanism or the process that they really care about.
Yeah.
In fact, most of them are getting riddled with huge side effects, but they're choosing that I want to be this outcome so badly, I'm willing to do it. Same thing when we think about aspirational marketing in like CrossFit and Peloton. You don't see Peloton really that often advertising a bike or a machine other than in their, like direct consumer purchase portal, or CrossFit, advertising the workout of the day, right? It's the aspirational outcome. It's happy, healthy people who look strong, who look capable, who look vital. That's the outcome that people are going, that's my new identity. That's who I want to be. And this is just the mechanism that helps me get there.
That's so good. Yeah. To really think if you're showcasing that and that comes through then in everything you put out then, right?
And it lets us be mission focused. So, when we think about our content pyramid and how we get people to purchase and to make a decision, we jokingly call this like the 4 horsemen of human decision making. You have this beautiful pyramid where you have like logic on one side, you have the emotional hook on another. We usually do really well with the logic when we talk about pain symptoms, things like that. The aspirational identity marketing is that, emotional hook, but in the middle of this pyramid, and you have community involvement and ethics up at the top, but in the middle, you always have purpose, right? What's the mission of chiropractic? Why are you in practice? Why are you doing what you do? It's to help people one by one and by many become healthy, more vital, in their wellness era, if you will, to like have a TikTok term there. And this type of marketing where we're teasing aspirational outcomes and we're saying you can be this, you and your family and your loved ones can be this, paradigm of health, and we can help you get there. But, you have to be the one. You're the hero that has to go this. We're just the guide. That can really help keep us mission centric in our marketing instead of always just being pain symptom centric.
I love that. And I think that's a really good reminder too. For most of us, I think that, again, err on more of the side of wanting to really focus on teaching people about their neurology and their spine. We also realize like to your point, they don't care what method gets them there sometimes, right? It's just that where are we trying to go? And then let's talk more about that and help them identify themselves as someone who can go there, right?
Yeah. And, there's a lot of studies that are out right now about the psychology of when someone can really believe in the product or service that they're interacting with. So, to use the GLP-1 parallel, people don't really start to investigate how it works or why it's working for them until it starts working for them. And it's the same thing that we experience in chiropractic, where people don't really open themselves up, where they want to learn, they want to believe, they can really digest, understand, and then they truly are emotionally connected to that result until they have their first milestone, right? Their first breakthrough, their first moment where they're like, oh man, my back doesn't hurt as bad, or my headaches are reducing, or whatever. That's the moment where you can really, and this is post them becoming a new patient, they're already with you. And most of us think that the marketing stops then, but it needs to continue through that, paradigm shift so that they can go and take that into referral, into a place where they can really understand and bring in, their family and friends because they get it.
Yes.
Right? So you have to market the entire way through that transformation and that journey.
That's so good. I've said to my team many times over the years of like, all right, take ourselves out of chiropractic, go to the dentist. When you go to the dentist, especially on your first couple visits, you don't really care that the dentist teaches you everything about your, second molar, right? Like great. We expect that you know that and that you really love teeth, but I want to have a pleasant experience and I want to know that you can like get the job done and do it in an efficient manner. And then I start to trust you. And then I might learn about some of the other things you want me to learn about my teeth. But oh, that's so good, Lauren. I love that. And I think that's very true, is that we tend to put the cart before the horse, where we think they have to understand all of this to just get started. And you're saying, yeah, sure, teach them something. However, most of it needs to be taught as they've opened up to like learning about, why am I starting to notice a change in myself?
Yeah. They need to understand, we teach a lot in the Remarkable practice that we want to change people from understanders to believers, right? And in the first, that's an iterative cycle, right? So the first phase of this, when you're trying to convert them from lead to new patient, is really, I need you to believe and understand that we can help you, that we can get you to this outcome. You need to believe in the outcome that you can possibly achieve. It's one of the reasons in conversion that we talk a lot about the goal. Where do you want to be? What's the journey that you want to go on, so that we can get them to a point where they truly do believe that we can help them get there. Then post, conversion, when they've been with us for a minute, they get their first milestone. That's when we can get them to believe in the technical process and get them to understand technical process that's getting there. Because most consumers, they don't care how they're getting there. They just care on the initial front end that they can get there. Yep. And they need to believe that they can and have the hope that they can.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that also speaks to why in our tribe of TRP doctors, we've got full spine Gonstead, we've got upper cervical, again, what we're still taking the patient on a very similar journey, but the patient doesn't really care if someone's, putting an instrument and, tapping that first vertebra, or doing a full spine, with a nervoscope, like so many different ways to get the outcome, and it's still all chiropractic. It's just different techniques, right?
Yeah, exactly. And people are very, the average consumer, and I would venture to say this is probably almost every consumer in the chiropractic funnel, has no idea that there are different types of chiropractic technique. They have no understanding of that. They don't even really understand the concept of subluxation, which is why our education curve is so high. So, if you're going and you're promoting technique, that's going to really only resonate with a very small subsection of people who know or have problem awareness already around something that's laser focused in. And that's great. But marketing's like, managing a stock portfolio. You have to have diversification in what you're advertising, what you're marketing, what you're putting out in content. So, that hyper niche, this is my, I'm upper cervical focused or decompression or whatever, is a small percentage of your portfolio. But the main kind of like income revenue driver is this large scale messaging of, we can help you get better. And this is how you can be this healthy person, right?
And you're spreading that across so many different avenues.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. And I don't know who said it in TRP, maybe it was Dr. Franson first, that, there is like that concept of, am I farming or am I hunting in the activity that I'm doing? And that, what do you think the balance of that is, Lauren? Like, how much farming are you doing compared to how much hunting?
Oh gosh. An agricultural mindset here.
Yes.
Like 80% to 90% farming right now. And I think that's a lot of, it's farming with intentionality. Are we putting the, right crop in the field to sustain, our little tiny town or whatever? And that's your, digital advertising. That's your internal marketing, your referrals, your reactivations, things like that.
Maybe in-house talks.
Exactly, right? And then when we think about the hunting, going out with your new business development expert or trying to do lunch and learns, corporate wellness, health fairs, right? we go into the summer seasons and holidays. That's our prime hunting time.
Mm-hmm.
But also in how we manage our lead flow. So getting the exposure from, good marketing, content marketing, et cetera, is, 80% of the battle, but you still, no matter how the lead came in, have to work it.
Mm-hmm.
Email, call, text, follow up, being quick in your response if someone requests an appointment, right? There's a statistic out right now that they're 3 clicks away from abandoning you at any given point in time, right? So you have 3 clicks to make a connection with them, to get them to book an appointment, to send them a phone call, a text, whatever, to say, hey, we can't wait to have you in, and get them booked in. So, 80% farming, because that's the bulk of what you'll be doing in terms of marketing, just getting out there and getting people to understand that you exist and you can help them get to wellness. And then 20% hunting, getting the lead across the line, finding and sourcing opportunity, and just kind of spreading the good word about chiropractic care and what you can do and how you can help.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that it sometimes can feel like it needs to be more hunting. And my experience has also been like the more you plant seeds and keep planting those seeds, like you create something that, and this is usually what I'm sharing with the younger docs too, is just know, like, we feel like we're in a sprint, but we're really in a marathon. And you won't necessarily see some of the fruits of your labor for a while. You will see some, but just know that the end game isn't always a sprint right now. So that's great. Lauren, when like if we're saying brutal facts to chiropractors right now, where do you think most of us, our headspace is disconnected from the real like headspace of what's happening outside of our bubble?
Oh yeah. That's such a loaded question. Super high level. I think it's the disconnect between how our consumers want to be educated and they want to be talked to, right? So when we think about how most people are experiencing content now, it's not, there's kind of this concept of social media being in its end stage, where it's no longer like you and me sharing a photo of like my anniversary dinner, look at this cool meal, right, to my friends and family, and my aunt, commenting on it. It's now really the domain of content creation, and it's professional grade content creation at all given points in time. And I think that the biggest disconnect that I see with practices is the hesitancy or resistance to jumping just 10 toes down into content creation. Even if you're not great at it, there's so much power in the authenticity, in the lack of polish sometimes in a very hyper curated world where you can be just as, if not more successful than people who have professional studios and videographers coming in. So I think it's the mindset disconnect between, how we operate in practice with table talk, constant education, constant conversations around chiropractic, but then you put a digital screen in front of someone and they're like, nope, can't do this. I can't do that. Yes, you can. You do it every single day. Right? So I think that's the biggest disconnect.
Yeah. So done is better than perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah. The only good content is the content that's seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's good. And I think there is some truth. For me anyways, I like the authenticity sometimes of like, oh, this person doesn't have a filter on and doesn't have, like, it's just really real. And I don't know if that's just me or if it seems to be true too, that most consumers like that.
It's most consumers, especially if you're in a place of authority, but you need local connection, human connection still. They're not just buying online from like a brand. This isn't the Amazon of healthcare, right? So you have to have human, happy, smiling faces, like, don't be worried about how you appear on camera. They want to see skin and pore and hair out of place and things like that. It's hard to understand, especially in an AI-dominated world, that you are actually real. Right. So the more human, and that's going to become so much more prevalent as time progresses and as AI-generated video content particularly becomes more and more invasive into our lives. The tangible feeling of realness, of certainty of realness is going to become so much more powerful because people crave connection. And one thing that we have proven over and over and over again is we can't connect to a machine. Mm-hmm. So they're going to want to see you in the good, the bad, the ugly, and they're going to want to see you often.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's good. It's really good. All right. So, in kind of rounding out this conversation, Lauren, I know you've got, the marketing cohorts, and also I'm imagining we'll be on stage at the immersion that we have coming up here in October 10th and 11th in Phoenix. So, where can people reach out if they're like, I need some help with my marketing, or, just tell us what the offering is to help with marketing that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So we teach a beautiful little course on how to market your practice in the modern world against all these kind of things that we talked around high level. But also, most importantly, how to train someone within your team to manage your marketing, right? A lot of people use a lot of agencies, third parties, whatever, and that can get really bloated and out of control really quickly if you don't know what to do or how to do it. So we teach you how to be fluent in marketing, be present in that conversation, and be just the most effective to drive new patients and retain the ones that you currently have, right?
Yeah.
So, if you guys are interested or want to do a strategy session, we'll drop the QR code or the link below to get you guys onto just a free call, just to walk through what challenges are you facing now. If you're that unmarketable practice, you're my favorite. So definitely, if you think you cannot be marketed, please click that link because you're my favorite, to tackle.
Yeah. Perfect. Awesome. And then if you guys are interested in checking out TRP's immersion coming up, reach out to either one of us or DM us on our social TRP or mine, Lona Cook, and we'll get you a ticket to set up to come check it out. That one last year blew my mind of all the different things in AI that you can be doing to help your marketing and do it more efficiently. So yeah, that'll be great. All right. Well, thanks for your time this morning, Lauren. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye.
Hey everyone, please listen in for this next bonus interview of one of our remarkable success partners. They all help us help more people find the benefits of chiropractic. So listen on.
All right, guys. So today we've got a special guest on the show. I'm speaking with the awesome Poric from AP4 Wealth. And this is someone, guys, who, when it comes to all things wealth management, retirement planning, insurance, so many of us haven't really got this figured out, or the last time that we looked at any of these things were potentially years ago. But it's something that we know everyone at some point in their life is going to face. They're going to face, these events that happen in our life that if you just line up all your ducks properly, when those events happen, you're going to be covered. You're going to have peace of mind. You're going to ensure that everyone's being looked after. You're being looked after. Your family's being looked after. And I don't know anyone who does it better in the business, guys, than the guys from AP4 Wealth. And today I've got Alan to join us on the show. Alan, what's going on, man? Take us through a little bit about AP4 Wealth. I know you guys have been doing some splendid work with chiropractors when it comes to the things that we just chatted about, but I'd love to know a little bit about AP4 Wealth and what is it that you guys offer everyone?
Dr. Bobby, thanks for having me. Look, we're essentially obviously, we're a growing financial planning business. We're specializing in superannuation, insurance, retirement planning, and investment. Our big focus, I guess, is focusing on the chiro niche clients, because obviously they've got a lot of work on to do. They're very busy people. You guys obviously have a very demanding role. So what we do essentially is we come in and we work out how we can fill in some of the gaps, especially around the insurance front, because a lot of you guys have families, high income earners. So essentially, if anything was to happen to you, we would obviously need to, make sure that there's gaps that are filled there to ensure that, you get a positive outcome.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that. So I know this is a conversation that, early in my career, I made sure I took seriously. And talk to me a little bit about what you recommend in terms of insurance. So obviously, as a chiropractor or as a chiropractic assistant listening to this, but especially chiropractors and business owners, we're high income earners, like you said, and obviously you're usually the primary breadwinner in a family. And so you guys have products where if things were to happen, because let's face it, life happens. So let's remove the word if and insert the word when things happen, okay? Because as life goes on, things happen. Injuries are inevitable, okay? Things, accidents are inevitable. Death is inevitable. And what you guys do is you help us get the structure set up properly on time so that when those things happen in the future, we know that family's being looked after and we've got complete peace of mind that we're, working now to be able to set up family up for a lifetime essentially in the future. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So a lot of clients that we work with, along with the chiropractors, they essentially have default insurances that were set up when they first started working through default super. So what that means is there's actually no contract between you and the insurer. So if anything ever happens to you, the insurer doesn't know anything about your health, doesn't know anything about your occupation. And where we come in is we try and set you up with the best policy for a chiro that they can have in terms of the insurance offering. So, some insurers are more specific to blue collar, some are more specific to accountants. Some insurers really want to specify and specialize with chiropractors. And that really then helps get you a positive outcome, because if we can make sure the definitions align to what you actually do, if you do make a claim, the process is a lot easier. Because remember, an insurer is always first to not want to pay you out. But essentially, if we do all the work beforehand while you're still quite healthy, then we can make sure you get a positive claim.
Yeah. So what I heard there, and I want to make sure I repeat this for everyone, is the better, the more thorough, and the more work essentially you do before an event, the easier, more streamlined the process is after the event. Is that right, Alan?
Yes, 100%, 100%. And that's why, there's different structures you can have, like when it comes to paying insurances through your super fund. So it helps with your cash flow. But there's also structures when you're protecting your income to pay out of cash flow. And because you guys are earning quite a good amount of income, you can claim that as a tax deduction. So there's different ways of structuring it. But I think our expertise in the field of dealing with, particularly in the health industry, shows us that not every insurer will be sort of covering you for specific conditions based on that occupation. So,
yeah, spot on. And I love what you said earlier. What makes you guys unique? It's not just, you'll toss any product our way, but you'll obviously look at, all right, what's the right product based on specifically the chiropractic industry. You guys know the industry well. I know that you do all of my stuff. You do a lot of stuff for a growing, emerging amount of chiropractors within our tribe. And so you guys are going to tailor solutions that works best inside of the chiropractic industry.
Yeah, that's right. So essentially, like, as a chiropractor, your business structure, your setup, it's quite specific. So understanding what a chiro even does for work, what they do during their daily routine and all of that actually helps us determine potentially what policies and best outcomes we can have. So it's really understanding what a person does within their job. I think that's where we sort of are a little bit different to other advisors.
Yep. I love it. And on that note, I know that obviously insurance is a large part of what you guys do at a rock star level for offices.
Yeah.
It's not the only thing, however, you guys do specialize also in wealth management and future retirement planning as well. Is that right?
Yeah, yes, that's right. So we focus on superannuation. So building up, your superannuation, because ultimately that is what you're going to be left at in retirement. So essentially, we focus on the investments in there, also strategies around how we can structure it so you can pay less tax by using your super. But we also do investment planning, so manage funds, ETFs, direct shares. Now, a big part, I think, of what I guess, as chiros, you guys like to do is you like to obviously purchase property. And usually sometimes the best way of doing that is potentially through a self-managed super fund, right? So I guess that's where we come on board, because we essentially need to give advice that an SMSF is created and an investment strategy is done. So I think, focusing on those 3 to 4 areas will sort of hold you in pretty good stead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of chiropractors do love to eventually buy the premise that they're practicing in, right? It's a property play. So self-managed super funds is definitely a large part of that. So you guys can help with the organization, the setup, and the management of that too, right?
Yeah, 100%. So we project manage that. Obviously, we would deal with an accountant potentially to set that up. We'd also deal with a solicitor to make sure that all the lawyer stuff is done as well. But essentially, we're doing the investment strategy on top of that. So it's a bit of a project. It's a team effort.
Yeah, love it. So I guess my final question, Alan, is I'm listening to this podcast right now. Who is the right person to contact you? So if I'm listening to this and maybe I haven't done my insurances at all, that would be like an emergency red flag. It's like get on top of this ASAP. The earlier that you do it, the more affordable and the better the outcome is. Or maybe if I'm listening to this and you know what, it's been over a year since I reviewed any of my stuff, who'd be the right person that should reach out to you guys on the back of this?
Look, it can be a single person. It could be someone that has a young family. I think, when you actually realize how often claims do happen and injuries do happen, I mean, making sure that, your loved ones are protected. So I do truly believe, people that have anyone that they love in this world that want to make sure they're going to be not financially burdened is definitely somebody we want to see for the insurance space anyway.
I love it. I love it. That's exactly what I did. I did this with you guys way before I had children or family, but that's a great way of putting it. Anyone in this world who has someone that they love, guys, remember,
Yes.
okay, you're doing it for them. And I know, you guys often get up on stage and say, hopefully, the worst doesn't happen. But I'm just going to be very real with people and say the two things in life that are guaranteed are death and taxes. So
100%.
I actually look at it from a different angle and say, when this happens, wouldn't you be thankful to make sure that you do all this on time so that insurance, everything is sorted, and that, yes, the people that you love are absolutely looked after, and that, the future is bright for them either way, right?
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest one. Like, we've had probably 4 meetings this week where a client has had cancer, mental health issues. It's everywhere. So sometimes, I guess, when we speak about it, we don't want to be morbid to the point of making someone feel very anxious about things, but essentially claims are on the rise. Mental health is a huge thing, and you never know what's around the corner. So I think making sure that everything is set, so that way you don't have to sell off assets if anything happens, is definitely something you want to work on.
Yep, nailed it. So there you go, guys. So if this is you listening to this and you need to sort out your insurances, you need to sort out your future planning, your wealth planning, guys, get on top of this thing on time. What do we do, Alan? Just get in contact with you, and next steps will be organize a meeting, have a chat with you guys, jump onto a Zoom call. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have online inquiries on our website where you would put your name, your mobile number, and your email. My mobile number is also on our website, and the details. The lovely, remarkable practice.
We'll
All
leave
our
everything in the
details.
show notes. So that, guys, it's easy. If you just jump in the show notes, there'll be a link in the show notes that you can just go straight to Alan's details and then literally book a call with Alan or his team and then get on the phone and have a chat with you guys, right?
Yeah. So the first, the discovery meeting is complimentary as well. So it's about where we actually work out what we may need to do. And then after that, we could obviously have discussions going forward. But the first meeting is really just to get to know each other and see the lay of the land and how we can help you.
Yep. There you go, guys. So organize it on time, discovery meeting. You guys get it there. These guys are fantastic. Like I said, they look after all of my stuff and a growing amount of docs within the TRP community. So get this organized in time, and it's something that you can then sleep peacefully at night knowing that all your ducks are lined up in a row. Alan, thanks so much, man. I appreciate all the work that you do, not just for us, but for chiropractors in general. I know that you guys are making some waves in the entire industry, and it's definitely something that's been needed.
Thanks, Dr. Bobby. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, please click the links in the show notes to schedule a call.